My name is Anna. I'm 30 years old, originally from a small town in Northern California, nestled between the redwoods and the Pacific coast. These days, though, I rarely stay in one place for long. I work as a bartender on a cruise ship that travels across oceans, hopping from one dazzling country to the next. Some weeks I wake up in Greece, others in Japan, and sometimes I lose track completely until I hear the captain's voice on the intercom. But this story isn't really about the ship. It's about a moment that changed how I see people, how I see myself, and it happened in the middle of nowhere, during a storm, with a stranger I'll never forget. It was during my second year working on the cruise line. We had left the coast in New Zealand and were heading toward Fiji. That part of the Pacific is usually calm, peaceful, blue water stretching forever under a sky that seems to hold the whole world in its hands. But that week, something shifted. The clouds rolled in slowly, like smoke creeping over the horizon, and the sea turned from sapphire to steel. I had just finished my shift in the lounge bar. It was around midnight. The guests were asleep, or at least pretending to be, and the ship creaked as it rocked under the weight of the growing storm. I liked staying up late on those quiet nights. Sometimes I'd sneak a hot cup of tea from the kitchen and sit near the upper deck, listening to the waves crash and thinking about home. Not that I missed it exactly. I had left for a reason, but I guess there's a difference between running from something and just wanting space to grow. That night, as the wind started to howl and rain hit the windows in heavy sheets, I noticed someone else sitting alone near the back of the ship. He was older than me, maybe in his 50s, with a thick gray scarf wrapped tightly around his neck. I'd seen him before. He ordered a gin and tonic every evening, always sat alone, always tipped exactly $2. We had never spoken more than a few words. I hesitated, then walked over and said, "Mind if I sit for a bit? It's quieter here than in my cabin." He smiled politely. "Go ahead. I don't own the ocean." We both laughed, though his voice had a heaviness to it, like someone carrying something they hadn't put down in years. We sat in silence for a while, just listening to the storm. And then, out of nowhere, he said, "Do you ever feel like you're moving all the time, but not really going anywhere?" That question hung in the air between us, heavier than the thunder outside. I turned to him, surprised, unsure how to answer. "I used to," I finally said, "but lately I think I'm just trying to figure out where I actually belong." He nodded, looking out into the darkness. "My wife used to say that travel reveals who we are. I never believed her until after she died." I felt my chest tighten. "She passed last year," he continued, not looking at me. "Breast cancer. It came fast. I didn't take the time off work. I thought we had more time, always more time." I didn't know what to say. I wasn't trained for moments like that. I made drinks, cracked jokes, listened to complaints about melting ice and warm beer. But grief, real, raw grief, that was something different. "She always wanted to see the world," he added quietly. "So I booked this trip. Just me and her picture in my wallet. I'm stopping in every country she dreamed of visiting." There was something so painfully beautiful about that. A man walking through memories that never got made, carrying them like a promise he couldn't break. "I think she'd be proud of you," I said, my voice softer than I meant. He finally looked at me. His eyes were red, but he smiled. "Thanks. I guess I just wish I'd seen her more clearly when she was still here." That line stayed with me for the rest of the night and many nights after. We talked a bit longer, not about death or sadness, but about books and sunsets and how strange people can be. He told me he used to be a teacher, and I shared how I had almost gone to art school before choosing the sea instead. When the storm finally eased, we said goodnight. I never saw him again after that voyage. He left the ship in Fiji. No goodbye, no wave, just gone. But something inside me shifted. I started calling my mom more. I sent postcards to friends I hadn't spoken to in years. I even painted again. Tiny sketches of ports and passengers, sometimes just the shape of a wave. I began paying attention in a way I hadn't before, to people's faces, to their stories, to the moments between big moments. Because that man was right. We move so fast through life, always chasing the next destination, the next success, the next day off. But sometimes we forget to really see the people beside us. And sometimes, by the time we do, it's too late. Now, every time someone sits at my bar and orders something with sadness in their eyes, I listen. I really listen. Not because I have the answers, but because sometimes being seen is enough. Maybe that's why I'm still on this ship, floating between countries, serving drinks to strangers. Not because I'm lost, but because I've learned that connection can happen anywhere, even in the middle of a storm, between two people who might never meet again. And if there's one thing I know now, it's this. Everyone carries something, and every moment is a chance to lighten that load, even just a little, even if it's just with a cup of tea and a conversation at sea.